beneath the earth. My name is not important. It's this story, this unbelievable, horrifying, but I assure you, factual story. You may be thinking that this is some paranoid or opium-induced rant precariously balanced on the borders of sanity, but I pray you read on and discover why my story must be told as a warning, if nothing else. I had been exploring the dense backwoods outside of Ramsey, Pennsylvania for some time. Sprawling, beautiful forests that had yet to meet the axe. I would traverse these woods to ponder, reflect, and write down my thoughts in a blank book, which I'd procured strictly for this purpose. It is in that book which I write now. I pray to divine providence that it will be found. One fateful day, this cursed day, the day that will be my last, this wretched pinpoint on the fabric of time after which I shall cease to exist, I made an odd and terrible discovery. I had been walking perhaps 3/4 of an hour when I stumbled upon what appeared, logically to me, to be an underground cave, perhaps once used as an Indian dwelling. Strangely frightening it was out there amongst the looming pine. My insides felt deranged merely to look at it, but I felt some curious urge, some seemingly necessary impulse to explore it. And so I gazed at the gray sky for the last time and entered the cave. I had been carrying a lantern with me, as I tend to lose track of time in the woods, and I thought it may very well be close to nightfall when I was to be making my journey home. I never conceived that I would never again see home. The lantern now served a new purpose as I journeyed into the cave. From what I could see upon entering, there was a small downward slope, leading into what I assumed to be a carved-out room fit for some old dwelling. I went down the slope and walked into what I had previously thought a room. There on the ground before me, glowing eerily in the lantern light, was a most appalling skeleton. I dare say it was human, for the features were more like that of some bizarre wild animal. I shuddered to gaze at the thing, but something else soon attracted my attention. In the corner of my eye, barely illuminated by the lantern, was what appeared to be another passage, and I still felt an intense, unyielding urge to venture further. Walking towards it, I saw that it was indeed a passage, and that I would have to crouch to continue onward. I did so, and had gone perhaps 15 feet when I entered another room in which I could stand, and there I saw, to my shock, a long descending stairway. My own lantern shone but a short way down the stairs, which were crudely carved out of rock. However, I noticed another light, barely observable, deep down where the staircase must stand. My brain was telling me to turn back and get out of the place, but that impulse, that damnable impulse, forced me to go on. As I continued down the stairs, which were too numerous to count, the strange light at the bottom of them grew less and less faint. I questioned my own sanity as I neared the bottom of the staircase and discovered the source of the light. Torches. Torches brilliantly illuminating a long hallway filled with horrific carvings depicting atrocious violence and vile sin. At the end of the hallway was a massive brass door that radiated an intense heat and was covered with carvings and a tongue I had never before seen or heard of. But to just look at overwhelmed me with a pure, abject fear. As I stood before the door, every nerve and fiber of my being implored me to turn and run. But I was mysteriously drawn to it. I had to open it. I can only describe what I saw through the door, which took every ounce of energy in my body to force open. I cannot possibly begin to explain it. The door led to a ledge that stretched out about 5 feet and then abruptly ended. I walked up to the end of the ledge and gazed downward. I, to this moment, wonder how my heart did not stop, for the stark, living terror that overwhelmed my senses was inconceivably horrible, and left me momentarily stricken of motion and rational thought. There, far below me, was a massive flowing pool of fire that formed some unspeakably evil river. I swear I could hear the agonizing screams of sinners in torment, and then I began to notice them. The creatures, one of whose skeletal remains I'd stumbled upon, forcing the writhing damned back into the lava, and standing in the countless doorways to passages and corridors that must have formed some massive infrastructure beneath the earth. It must have been hell, for those creatures could only have been the minions of Satan himself. Suddenly, somehow, I was thrust back into reality. I found that my sense of reason had returned, and I once again regained control of my actions. I turned and fled back through the monstrous door, but found nothing familiar. The long staircase was gone, and in its place were numerous crawl spaces and narrow passages leading in all different directions. I cannot say in what direction or for how long I traveled, for I was panicked, and I simply kept moving. I'm lost now, hopelessly lost. I am hidden in some small crevice in the rocks where I hastily write this manuscript, praying fervently it will be found, so that people who still live can be warned of the hell that is terribly real. I know, for I have seen it. The demonic things that are its inhabitants are not far behind me now. I can hear them coming. Closer. Closer. Editor's note. This most curious manuscript was discovered in the spring of 1940 by a workman clearing a path through a section of the forest outside of Ramsey, Pennsylvania, for the installation of the new highway. The text was discovered, remarkably, in fairly good condition, about 6 feet inside the entrance to what appeared to be an old mine shaft. It bore the initials HFA and contained several uninteresting passages, mainly the author's thoughts and observations, dating from the 4th of April 1910, dated to the last radical passage, the 21st of September 1910. Upon sifting through the Hall of Records and newspaper archives in and around Ramsey, we discovered that a banker by the name of Howard F. Alger had gone missing on the 21st of September, the year 1910. His body was never found, and so his disappearance remained an unsolved mystery. Now, however, because of this discovery and the irrationally odd nature of the last passage in the book, it can be deduced and safely assumed that Mr. Alger was out walking when he journeyed into the mine and got lost. The deadly gases down in the mine shaft would have made him delirious, and so he was most assuredly clinically insane when he scrawled his last passage roughly 6 feet from the mine's exit. The cause of death was more than likely methane poisoning, but as Mr. Alger's remains have never been found, this is only theory.